My name is Robin, and by the time I turned 30, I had a corner office with a view, an impressive title as Deputy Finance Director at BlueWave Shipping, and a life that looked perfect on paper. What I didn't have was a family, at least not one that claimed me. To understand why I haven't spoken to my mother in years, we need to go back 16 years. I was 14 when my dad died. He was a helicopter rescue paramedic, a true hero who saved countless lives before losing his own when his helicopter crashed during a storm rescue mission. Dad was my world. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to stand up for myself, and how to solve math problems I thought were impossible. When he died, something inside me died too. The insurance money came 6 weeks later. Mom quit her nursing job, saying she needed time to heal. I understood that. What I didn't understand was how quickly she healed enough to start dating again. 6 months after Dad's funeral, Mom brought home Alan Richards and his 11-year-old daughter, Tiffany. "Robin, this is Alan, he's going to be a part of our lives now," Mom said with a smile I hadn't seen since Dad was alive. I tried, I really did. For Mom's sake, I smiled and shook Alan's hand. I offered to show Tiffany my collection of music boxes that Dad had bought me from his rescue missions around the world. She looked at them with disinterest and then accidentally knocked one off my shelf. It shattered, a little glass lighthouse from Maine that Dad had given me on my 12th birthday. "Oops," she said with a smirk, "that was my first clue." Within weeks, Alan and Tiffany moved into our house, Dad's house. I came home from school one day to find Tiffany in my room, wearing my clothes. "Get out," I said, dropping my backpack. "Your mom said I could borrow whatever I wanted," she replied, admiring herself in my mirror. "Besides, these jeans look better on me anyway." When I told Mom about it, she sighed, "Robin, please try harder with Tiffany. She's adjusting to a new life too." That became the pattern. Tiffany would take my things without asking. She'd eat the lunch Mom packed for me. She'd tell her friends embarrassing lies about me. Once, she even deleted my science project from the family computer the night before it was due. When I confronted her, she'd cry, and somehow, I'd end up being the bad guy. "You're older, Robin, you should know better," Mom would say, while Alan nodded in agreement. The final straw came on a regular Tuesday afternoon. I'd saved up my allowance for 3 months to buy a silk blouse for the winter formal dance. It was hanging in my closet, tag still on, when I heard Tiffany in my room. I ran in to find her holding scissors to my new blouse. "Put that down," I yelled, lunging for her. She yanked the blouse away, and the scissors cut right through the fabric. I grabbed for it, and in the struggle, Tiffany fell backward onto the floor. The scream she let out would have made you think I'd stabbed her. "She hit me, Robin hit me," she wailed at the top of her lungs. Mom and Alan rushed in. Tiffany was on the floor, fake sobbing, my ruined blouse beside her. "She attacked me because I wanted to borrow her stupid shirt," she cried. "I didn't hit her, she was cutting my new blouse, the one I bought myself," I protested. Mom looked at the blouse, then at me, then at Tiffany's tear-streaked face. The slap came without warning. Her palm connected with my cheek so hard my ears rang. "I've had enough of this behavior," Mom said, her voice ice cold. "I'm tired of you bullying Tiffany, this isn't working." A week later, I was packing my things into garbage bags because Alan didn't want to waste gas driving back to get my suitcases from the attic. Mom drove me across town to my grandparents' house, Dad's parents, and dropped me off like an unwanted package. Grandma and Grandpa welcomed me with open arms and broken hearts. They'd lost their son, and now they were watching their daughter-in-law discard their only grandchild. 3 months later, Grandma saw it in the local newspaper: Catherine Carter and Alan Richards wed in intimate ceremony. There were no invitations for us, no phone calls, nothing. I started at a new school, made new friends, buried myself in homework and after-school activities. Anything to keep busy, to keep from thinking about how my mom had chosen her new family over me. I graduated high school with honors. Got a scholarship to college, supplemented by Grandpa's savings. Earned my business degree, started at BlueWave as an accounting assistant and worked my way up. Through it all, I sent Mom birthday cards and Christmas messages. Short, polite notes that never invited further conversation. She'd occasionally respond with equally brief messages. It was a relationship that existed only on paper, and that was fine with me. By 30, I had everything I thought I wanted: career success, a nice apartment, good friends. Then, within 6 months of each other, both my grandparents passed away. Grandpa first, from a heart attack, then Grandma from what the doctors called natural causes, but what I knew was a broken heart. They left me everything, their modest savings and the house I'd called home since I was 14. I was arranging Grandma's clothes for donation when the doorbell rang. Opening it, I felt like I was looking at a ghost, not because my mother had changed so much, but because she hadn't changed at all. "Robin," she said softly, "I heard about your grandmother, I'm so sorry." I stood frozen in the doorway, unable to speak. 16 years of silence, and now here she was, at my door. I don't know why I let her in that day. Maybe it was grief making me vulnerable. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe some part of me, the part that had been a 14-year-old girl desperate for her mother's love, hadn't completely died. "You look good, Robin," Mom said, sitting awkwardly on Grandma's floral couch. "I hear you're doing well at your job." "Deputy Finance Director," I said flatly. "How did you know where to find me?" "Small town," she replied with a shrug, "news travels. When I heard about your grandparents, I just wanted to see you." I waited for the real reason: money, probably. That's what estranged relatives usually want when they suddenly reappear. "I made a mistake," she said, her voice cracking. "I've made so many mistakes, Robin. The way I treated you, choosing Alan and Tiffany over you, I was wrong." I'd imagined this conversation 1,000 times over the years, but now that it was happening, I felt nothing but numbness. "It's been 16 years, I said. She nodded, tears forming. "I know, I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I'd like a chance to be in your life again, to rebuild, slowly." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw her out, to make her feel a fraction of the pain and rejection I'd felt. But another part, that stupid, hopeful part, wanted to believe her. "I'll think about it," I finally said. She left her number on a slip of paper, and against my better judgment, I called her a week later. We met for coffee, just talking. Careful, measured conversations that stayed away from the past. Then lunch, a couple of weeks after that. Then dinner at a restaurant with Alan. He was balding now, softer around the middle, and surprisingly humble. "I wasn't a good stepfather to you, Robin," he admitted. "I always put Tiffany first, and that wasn't fair." Even Tiffany seemed different. She'd married young, to a plumber named Dave, and had 2 kids. When we saw each other at a family dinner 3 months after Mom's reappearance, she was almost civil. Little by little, I let them back in. Mom never asked for money outright, which surprised me. Sometimes she'd mention being short on cash for utilities or groceries, small amounts, $200 or $300. Nothing that would hurt me to give. "I'd pay you back, but our car needed repairs this month," she'd say. I always told her not to worry about it. What was a few $100s compared to finally having a mother again? For the first time since Dad died, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, even the occasional family movie night. I'd come home to my grandparents' house, my house now, feeling lighter, like maybe the past could stay in the past. "You seem happier," my colleague James noticed at work. "You're actually smiling in meetings now." I was happier, and when Mom started asking for bigger things, I barely noticed the shift. "Robin, honey, I saw you're planning a trip to the Bahamas," she said over dinner one night. "It sounds wonderful." "Yeah, first real vacation in years," I replied, excited to tell her about the beachfront resort I'd booked. "Alan and I haven't had a vacation in so long," she sighed, "not since his back surgery 2 years ago." The hint hung in the air. I knew what she was asking. I should have said no. "Would you like to come with me?" I heard myself say instead. Their faces lit up. "Oh, we couldn't impose," Mom said, already imposing. It's fine, the resort has 2-bedroom suites, there's plenty of room. That trip cost me triple what I'd planned, between the upgraded suite and paying for their meals and activities. But seeing Mom happy, seeing her grateful. I told myself it was worth it. Other requests followed. Tiffany needed help buying school supplies for her kids. Alan's mother needed a new washing machine. Mom's car was making a noise, could I pay for the inspection? None of it broke the bank, and they were always so appreciative. Thank you cards, homemade dinners, hugs and kisses, and you're the best, Robin. Then came my mother's phone call about her upcoming 55th birthday. It's a big one, she gushed. I've always dreamed of having a real celebration, something special. That sounds nice, I said, not catching on yet. The thing is, with Alan's hours cut back at work, we can't afford anything fancy, she continued. I was wondering if you might help us put something together. I knew help meant pay for, but by then, I was so accustomed to being the family ATM that I barely hesitated. What did you have in mind? Just a party room, catering, maybe some decorations, nothing too extravagant. The next day, I visited Mom's house to discuss details. Tiffany was there, oddly enough, flipping through party venue brochures. We were thinking about the harbor view, Mom said casually, pointing to a glossy photo of the most expensive event space in town. For how many people? I asked. Mom and Tiffany exchanged glances. About 40, Mom said, family, old friends, neighbors. I did some quick mental math and felt my stomach drop. The harbor view, catering for 40, plus decorations and music. I was looking at thousands of dollars. That's a lot, I said cautiously. Mom's face fell, you're right, it's too much to ask. We can do something small at home instead. And just like that, I was 14 again, desperate to please, terrified of rejection. No, it's fine, I said quickly, I want you to have a special day, I'll make it work. Mom hugged me tight, you're an angel, Robin. I don't deserve a daughter like you. Looking back, I should have caught the glint in Tiffany's eye, the way she smirked when Mom wasn't looking. But I was too busy being the good daughter, the one who had finally earned her place in the family. Luckily, my friend Melissa owned Riverside Events, a mid-sized venue with its own catering service. When I explained what I needed, she immediately offered to handle everything. I'll give you my friends and family discount, she insisted, though I knew the price would still be steep. For the next 2 months, I wrote checks and approved plans, watching my savings dwindle while taking comfort in Mom's excited phone calls about her party. I can't wait for Saturday, Mom said the night before her birthday, and Robin? I have a surprise for you tomorrow. A surprise for me, it's your birthday, I laughed. Just wait and see, she said mysteriously. It's going to be a day none of us will forget. She was right about that, at least. The day of the party I left the salon feeling beautiful. My normally practical ponytail had been transformed into soft waves, and the makeup artist had given me a natural but polished look. For once, I wasn't just the reliable financial provider, I was going to be a daughter celebrating her mother. As I checked my phone to call a taxi, it lit up with Mom's name. My heart warmed, expecting her to ask when I'd arrive or if I could bring something last minute. Instead, her cold tone froze me in place. Robin, I'm calling to tell you that you shouldn't come to the party tonight. You're not invited, I don't want you there. The sidewalk seemed to tilt beneath me. Mom, what are you talking about? I organized everything, I paid for. Yes, you paid, that's all we needed from you. Her voice had a cruel edge I hadn't heard since the day she'd slapped me. You were never really part of this family, Robin, you were just useful. My mind couldn't process what was happening. This is a joke, right? The joke was making you think we wanted you back in our lives, she replied flatly. Now that the party's paid for, we don't need you anymore. Don't show up, you're not welcome. The call ended, I stood on the sidewalk, holding my phone, people brushing past me while my world collapsed. This was the surprise she'd mentioned. This had been the plan all along. My phone buzzed with text messages. I opened them to find a stream of messages from Tiffany. Surprise, stepsister, thanks for the awesome party. Can't believe you fell for it, Mom said you'd be stupid enough to pay for everything. Don't worry, we'll enjoy every penny you spent. We waited to tell you until now so you couldn't cancel anything, smart, right? The final message was a photo, Tiffany standing in the decorated event space, posing with a champagne glass, wearing an expensive dress I'd probably paid for indirectly. Her smug smile said everything. I felt physically ill, the humiliation burned through my shock. I'd been played, expertly, cruelly, and completely. They'd spent 2 years setting me up for this moment, rebuilding my trust just to shatter it for their amusement. With shaking hands, I called Melissa. Her concerned voice nearly broke me. Robin, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I struggled to explain what had happened, my words coming out in broken fragments. Melissa's initial confusion turned to outrage as she understood. Those manipulative, ungrateful, she stopped herself. Robin, listen to me. This is my venue, my event, come meet me here right now. I arrived at Riverside Events 30 minutes later to find Melissa waiting outside. She explained quickly as we walked through the staff entrance. The party was in full swing, with about 40 guests mingling in the beautifully decorated space I'd financed. From our hidden vantage point, I could see Mom at the center of attention, laughing in a new dress, Alan beside her, Tiffany nearby. Just watch, Melissa straightened her jacket and walked into the main room, heading directly to the small stage where a microphone stood. She tapped it twice, gaining everyone's attention. Good evening, everyone. I'm Melissa Young, owner of Riverside Events. First, I'd like to wish Catherine a very happy 55th birthday. Mom smiled, clearly pleased with the formal acknowledgement. Melissa continued, her professional smile never wavering. I also want to acknowledge the person who made this beautiful celebration possible, the person who paid for every detail you're enjoying tonight, Catherine's daughter, Robin. Mom's smile vanished, she stepped forward, trying to interrupt, but Melissa raised her voice slightly. Unfortunately, Robin couldn't be here tonight because Catherine specifically uninvited her, after Robin paid for everything. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. As the owner of this establishment, I have the right to refuse service to anyone I deem unworthy of hospitality. And I cannot, in good conscience, serve people who would treat their own daughter with such cruelty. Mom rushed forward, face contorted with anger. You can't do this. We have a contract. The contract was with Robin, not you, Melissa replied calmly. And as Robin's friend, I'm following her wishes. She turned to the security staff positioned by the doors. Please escort everyone out, the party is over. I watched chaos unfold, Mom screaming about calling the police, guests looking confused and embarrassed, Tiffany turning pale as her perfect night disintegrated. Melissa's voice cut through the noise. The catering will be donated to the Hope House shelter. Anyone who is genuinely unaware of this family's behavior is welcome to contact us for a future discount. Everyone else, out, now. The security team began ushering people toward the exits. Some guests whispered to each other, casting disgusted looks at Mom. Others simply left quickly, eager to escape the uncomfortable scene. I saw Mom frantically trying to explain to an older woman who was shaking her head in disapproval. Alan stood uselessly nearby, while Tiffany appeared to be on the verge of tears. The beautiful cake I'd specially ordered remained uncut on its stand. Within 15 minutes, the venue was empty except for staff. Melissa returned to where I waited, eyes bright with satisfaction. That felt good, she said, sitting beside me. For the first time since Mom's call, I felt something other than pain. It wasn't quite satisfaction or happiness, but perhaps it was justice. The tears came then, not of humiliation but release. Melissa held me while I cried, finally letting go of the fantasy that I could ever have the mother I deserved. We left through the back entrance as the catering staff packed up food for delivery to the shelter. I spent the night at Melissa's apartment, alternating between numbness and anger as my phone lit up with increasingly desperate messages from Mom, Alan, and Tiffany, all of which I ignored. By morning, their tone had changed from apologetic to accusatory. I was cruel, vindictive, heartless. I had humiliated them in front of their friends. I owed them another party. The cognitive dissonance was almost impressive. They had planned for months to humiliate me, yet somehow I was the villain for exposing their cruelty. I deleted every message without responding. Over coffee, Melissa and I laughed about the shocked expressions on their faces when they realized their plan had backfired. It wasn't complete healing, but it was a start. "What are you going to do now?" Melissa asked. I considered the question, stirring my coffee thoughtfully. "Live my life without toxic people in it," I replied. I thought it was over, I really did. I'd changed my phone number, blocked their emails, and was beginning to heal. Work became my sanctuary again. The corner office with its view of the harbor felt like a testament to what I could achieve on my own, without family, without their false support. My colleagues noticed the change in me, but no one asked questions. They just welcomed back the focused, driven Robin they knew. 2 weeks after the party disaster, on a peaceful Sunday morning, an aggressive pounding on my front door shattered my calm. I opened it to find Mom, Alan, and Tiffany on my doorstep, their faces twisted with anger. They pushed past me into the house before I could stop them. "How dare you?" Mom spat, her face inches from mine. "Do you have any idea what you've done to us?" I maintained a cold composure that surprised even me. Inside, my heart raced, but outwardly, I was stone. "I didn't do anything to you, you did it to yourselves." Tiffany stepped forward, pointing her finger in my face. "Everyone's talking about us. My kids came home crying because their friends said their grandma was mean to their aunt. My husband's boss was at that party, he looks at Dave differently now. And my church group," Mom added, her voice breaking with self-pity rather than remorse. "People I've known for years are treating me like I'm some kind of monster." I almost laughed at the absurdity. They'd spent years manipulating me, culminating in a calculated public humiliation, and now they were angry about facing consequences. I noticed Melissa standing in my living room doorway. She'd come over for coffee before they arrived. When Mom spotted her, her eyes narrowed dangerously. "You," Mom hissed, pointing at Melissa. "I'm going to sue you for ruining the holiday. You had no right to cancel my party. I'll write disgusting comments about your business and ruin your reputation." Melissa stood her ground, unfazed, but I'd heard enough. I coldly interrupted my mother, my voice cutting through her tirade like ice. "If you dare to ruin the reputation of my friend, then I will publish the most disgusting messages from you and your daughter, in which you confessed that you used me and that you did not specifically invite me to humiliate me." Mom's mouth snapped shut, Tiffany paled visibly. I was angry. "I didn't mean it," Mom lied. I pulled out my phone and opened Tiffany's text messages. "Really?" Because Tiffany wrote, and I quote, "Mom said you'd be stupid enough to pay for everything. That sounds pretty premeditated to me." Tiffany paled further. Mom shot her a venomous look. "Those are private messages," Tiffany sputtered. "Which I'm sure your friends, neighbors, and Dave's boss would find fascinating," I replied, my implication clear. The threat hung in the air. Mom recovered first, trying a new angle. "Robin, please, I'm your mother." "No," I said, the word simple but powerful. A mother doesn't abandon her child for a new family. A mother doesn't scheme for years to hurt her daughter. You gave birth to me, but you stopped being my mother the day you chose them over me. I walked to the front door and held it open. "Get out of my house, don't contact me again. If you try, or if you go after Melissa's business, I'll share every manipulative message, every cruel word with anyone who'll listen." They left, Mom pausing at the threshold. "You'll regret this, blood is thicker than water." Grandma used to say the full quote is, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb," I replied. "It means the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I've chosen mine." I shut the door on her shocked face. Melissa appeared beside me with 2 wine glasses. "I think this calls for a celebration." We toasted to freedom from toxic relationships, to chosen family, to the strength I didn't know I had until I needed it. That was 2 years ago. I'm 34 now. I've been promoted to finance director at BlueWave, bought a vacation cottage on the lake, and started dating someone kind and honest. Melissa and I remain close friends, family, really. Sometimes I see them around town. Last month, I spotted Mom and Alan at the grocery store. They looked older, diminished somehow. Mom saw me too, her eyes widening with recognition before I deliberately turned away. I felt nothing, no anger, no pain, not even satisfaction. Just peaceful indifference. When people ask about my family, I tell them about my grandparents who took me in, about my father who taught me courage, about friends who stood by me when it mattered most. I tell them family isn't always blood, sometimes it's the people who choose to love you when they don't have to. As for Mom, Alan, and Tiffany? They're strangers to me now. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that not everyone deserves a place in your life, even if they share your DNA. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some relationships are better left in the past. I've found my peace, I've built my life. And I've learned that sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is simply walking away.